You're watching Pyro Media Network.
I could be running or I'm chasing you, but I won't. Cause I got better things to do. Rather spend my precious time chasing somebody who loves me too. If I got $1 for every time you slam the door, I would be the richest girl alive, life. If you hadn't run away every time I asked you stay, you would sleep right next to me tonight. But you didn't know me, all you wanted was a game to play, and you couldn't handle that I had my ways. I found your magic and your magic. I'm a winner, babe. But you didn't win this, it's a part of the game.
Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience is fruitful. Please feel free to visit our website to find out how you can join our growing family. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. Also, share so others may enjoy as well. And we hope you would consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. Alright, let's start the show.
Hey, y'all. I was going to say welcome. I get myself confused with the podcast and the nail videos. I'm like, no, this is the podcast, Nicole. Focus. Happy Friday, Junior. I am Dr. Nicole D. Vick. Hey! I can officially say I am Dr. Vick. My degree was conferred about a week or two after I graduated, because you got to do all the paperwork and stuff. So I can officially say that without getting in trouble or anything like that. And let me just tell you, someone just asked me a minute ago, do I feel any different? And honestly, I don't. Because, and I guess for a couple of reasons. People have been calling me Dr. Vick actually for a really long time. And I'm like, I am not. So I think people were speaking that into existence for me. And I knew it was coming. So I don't know if it's really like 100% hit me yet. Maybe ask me in about a week or so, or 3 or 4 weeks, and maybe I have a different answer. But let me just say this. I know I'm jumping ahead, but I am living my best life and getting a little wild and reckless. I went to the tattoo parlor and I let them put So this was already here, the Sankofa and the Victorious. And I was like, well, I got to put the doctor up here. So the doctor is up here. And then I went and got a African symbol. This means abundance. And it's on my ring finger. And I feel like there was some significance for the why I put it there, but I wanted abundance on my finger. So listen, I'm mid-40s. We do things like get tattoos on our fingers now. That's what we do with ourselves. I'm living my best life right now. Child is out of the house. She gone to another state, got her own house, and here I am, right? And so really excited to be here with you. Thank you for joining. This is the video podcast where I talk about issues that are important to the Black community from a social justice perspective. Just in case you were trying to, like, what is this child talking about? That's what these podcast episodes are about, okay? Again, thank you for being here. We are in June. We're officially at the middle of the year. I'm like, come on. I don't know about you, but the older I get, the faster time goes by. Because I can remember when I was in elementary school, it took forever for a week to go by. Forever. But now at 45, almost 46, I wake up on Monday, turn around, it's Friday. And I'm like, what is happening? Why is time moving so fast? And it might be this realization for me that there are less years in front of me than behind me. Like, because I know I'm not going to live to like 200, right? So it's like I know my time is coming, and I'm like, I'm not ready for that. I need more time. So can you please slow down, right? But anyway, this year is chugging along on supersonic speed, but that's okay. We have some fabulous things that are happening in the month of June that I'm going to talk to you about. This month's topic is reparations, and so we're going to have some conversations about that this month, and I'm really excited about that. I have a guest coming next week, and I'm hoping to bring someone else on the week after that. All right, but before we get into the nitty gritty, we got to do the nail cam. Now, remember, every first episode of the month, I'm going to show you my nails from the previous month because nail care is my self care and my way of expression and sort of creativity. And so I got to show you. So that's me. If you watch my videos on Instagram and well, mostly on Instagram and Facebook, I do this little intro the same way every time. Those were my graduation nails. And let me tell you something. I have done graduation nails or USC nails 3 times. By far, this is top tier. But let me tell you, them rhinestones, the numbers, and the sparklies, it was, oh my gosh, I almost had to saw my nail off to get the rhinestone off. They were glued on so well. So really shout out to McCart nail glue because the nails stayed on. Now these are called butterfly nails where I did a red and pink ombre and then that black and the little dots are supposed to look like, I think it's a monarch butterfly. I really liked doing those. And I want to do some more with different color combinations. This one was kind of a simple look. But the actual sort of bomb part about it was I used this really pretty iridescent nail foil type thing that gave that nail color like this sort of dimension to it. And then of course I put some rhinestones on, and that was a really cute look, but it was really a very simple look. One thing about that particular nail look, my middle finger to me looks so giant, like a thumb. It was just crazy. Anyway, so here I am again playing with ombre. I saw this look on someone else and I said, let me try to replicate it. Let me just say this. I ordered DoorDash groceries. And the first thing the guy said, before he said anything, as I kind of stepped out to get the groceries, I had my hand out. He said, I love your nails. I was like, okay, thank you. So I have such a good time doing my nails. It is really my time to just be. It's the quietest and the stillest that I am in a given week and the most creative. And it's something I enjoy so much. I sit here at this very desk that I'm sitting in front of right now with my tablet on, watching Dateline and true crime and all kind of stuff and just going to town. I already have my colors picked out for next week. I might as well show you that. So I have Zule. Zule is a Latina-owned nail brand. This is a black sparkle. I'm going to put this on as a base with black. So you put black first on, then you put this on. I'm going to do a neon look. And so I have my neon colors. Look at it. Y'all don't get me on here and get to talking about nails. So stay tuned for that look. You can see all of my nail looks on Instagram and Facebook. I post them every single week. That is the most consistent I have been with anything in my entire life. Don't ask me about nothing about no gym. Don't ask me nothing about no exercise. But nails, I can do my nails every single week without fail and posting without fail. Ain't that something? Anyway, thank you for humoring me on my nail looks. And I love sharing that part of myself with y'all. I just gave away about 20 bottles of regular nail polish to someone at my job because she was like, I love nail polish. And I was like, girl, let me go down here in this bottom drawer and hand you a whole bunch. I just love it. And I was talking to her about how to do it. So that's like my thing, y'all. Maybe that's my calling. Maybe Dr. Vick is supposed to be a nail technician and own a nail salon. Would that be something? That would be something. We'll see. I don't know. So this month, as I already said, I want to focus the show on reparations, but I want to take a minute to shout out some really important observances that are happening this month. First and foremost, this is Pride Month, okay? Woo! I'm going to my first Pride parade festivity situation this weekend, and I'm really excited. Really, really excited about that. And so, according to the Library of Congress, LGBTQ Pride Month is celebrated each year in the month of June to honor the 1969 Stonewall Uprising in Manhattan. It was a tipping point for the gay liberation movement in the United States. Initially, it was one day, and the last Sunday in June was Gay Pride Day. But depending on where you were, the days were flexible. And in major cities across the country, the day soon grew to encompass a month-long series of events. Today we have parades, picnics, parties, workshops, webinars, concerts, all kinds of things that attract millions of participants around the world. Also memorials. And so as I'm reading this is from the Library of Congress, I'm reminded that this week is AIDS life cycle. And one of the things that they do is they actually have a couple of memorials, like in the beginning, specifically for those who have passed from HIV/AIDS. And I know HIV/AIDS is not, directly linked to being gay. I know that, so don't come for me. I'm not saying that, but there's other sorts of events that happened throughout that AIDS ride from San Francisco to Los Angeles. And I will say this, I'm not conflating the two, but we cannot deny the impact that the HIV/AIDS epidemic has had on the community, right? And so they are entwined in some ways, but being gay does not, automatically mean boom. Any of us can be exposed and contract HIV/AIDS. But I was just trying to make a point because the AIDS life cycle and all the whole thing that's going on. And it's happening around the same time as a lot of the Pride festivities. So I will say, like I said, I'm going to my first Pride parade June 9th here, LA Pride. And then I also want to mention that South LA Pride is in July. So it's not in June, it's July 13th. And I can't remember exactly where it's going to be. I looked at it, but now I can't remember. But all you have to do for wherever you live, Google and see where the festivities are and, participate, show up, show your support. I don't like calling myself an ally. I don't think people should call themselves allies. I think the community should decide who allies are. But if you are in support, you definitely need to show up because we need to be there and stand in the gap for our friends and our colleagues, right? So that's Pride Month, yay! And on top of that, I'm kind of upset because I heard that Target pulled back on their stuff. I don't like that. Y'all had all that stuff in the front of the store, and now because you don't want to deal with the backlash or potential backlash, you take it out of the stores. I don't think that's cool. But I will say this, then that means you, as a consumer, you need to go back and support those local vendors and business people who are selling T-shirts and other things that you need for Pride. You give them your coins, okay? So do that instead, because corporations like Target, I know we love Target, Tabitha Brown is at Target and all that good stuff, but we also have to be really mindful about really giving money to our community members and making sure those dollars are recycled. I'll give you a quick example because now I'm on the tangent. I got one of my friends gave me a graduation gift, and in the envelope she gave me cash. At first I was going to go, I forgot what I was going to do with it. I think I was going to go maybe to like the mall and spend money, and something told me no. Instead, you need to give that cash. Make sure that cash gets recycled in your neighborhood. Go to the local store, either buy some food from one of the community restaurants or go into one of the community stores and spend that $25 and see if you can make sure that dollar recycles in your neighborhood instead of giving it to a corporation. So sometimes little things like that really make a difference. All right. Second is Men's Health Month. We got to take care of the men's. We got to take care of our men's, baby. The men's, did you know on average that men in the United States die nearly 6 years earlier than women? No. We need y'all to be here. Because who gonna take the trash out? I need y'all to take somebody here. Who gonna put the brakes on the car, right? Of course, men are worth more than that, right? They are worth more than just being workers for women, right? But again, we have to take care of their health. They have to take care of their health too. They also are at higher risk for certain diseases like heart disease. Like there's a lot of stressors that are happening even now in the community. Lung cancer, I just mentioned HIV, and also HIV is one of the things they need to be really concerned about. So I will say, as a woman who has a father, a brother, I have friends that are men, make sure y'all go to the doctor and get your checkups. I feel like women, for some reason, we are more likely to have access to our primary care physicians. I think we're more, get the mammogram. Maybe we're carrying a baby. We have to go to the OBGYN. And I don't know if they're the same sort of natural reminders for our men to go to the doctor. So make sure you're going to the doctor. I just told you, men die 6 years sooner than women, and are not being diagnosed with diseases until maybe much later, and then it's too late, or the prognosis is grim. So please, 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 take care of your health. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office of Minority Health is focusing on improving health outcomes for specifically racial and ethnic minority and American Indian Alaska Native men. They have a theme. It's called Be the Source for Better Health. Improving health outcomes through our cultures, communities, and connections. So you know that in certain communities or certain ethnic groups, we have less access to health care. We also are more likely to be exposed to things like poverty, to be unemployed. Those kinds of things have huge stressors on our bodies. So it makes it actually all the more important for men and women, but in this case, we're talking about men, to seek health care, to have preventive health care services. Okay. So this month is Men's Health Month. Now, next Sunday, is it next Sunday? Is Father's Day. And Father's Day, you would think it's been around forever and ever, and it really hasn't been. I think it's only been since the 1960s. But the work to get Father's Day acknowledged in the United States started like around the early 1900s, where there was a woman who was raised by a single father, really wanted to push forward, hey, there's a Mother's Day, where's the Father's Day? And so she did all the heavy lifting, to really get this put onto sort of the national agenda. And finally, back in, let me see, Lyndon B. Johnson went ahead and said, yes, we're going to make it, Father's Day a thing. And that was only 1966. Like I said, I felt like it had been here longer, and it hasn't been. And so, actually, it was. So I said, President Johnson, no. In 1972, Richard Nixon signed an official proclamation setting Father's Day permanently on the third Sunday in June. Okay. And so, yeah, if you have a father figure, a father, an uncle, someone that has played a significant role in your life, make sure you give them a phone call, or do like I do. I just go on Amazon. I just said shop local, but my bad. Go on Amazon and find something my dad likes. My dad is interesting. Well, I know for sure he likes stuff like beef jerky and like those little sauce, those little boxes, and it'd be like the sausage and the cheese and the crackers. I just send my dad one of those because he lives out of state. And so I make sure one of those gets to him, because I know he likes it. And I don't want to buy him something that I know he's not going to use or wear. And I'm like, let's go get you some snacks and you'll be good. But now that I'm saying that, I got to be careful because them things is salty. And that might lead to high blood pressure. So maybe I need to find him a low salt or a vegan version. I don't know if he's going to go for the vegan. I don't know about that. But check on your father figures. Call your uncle. Call your brother. Your brother's a father. Call your people and check on them for Father's Day. Let them know that you care. And remind them to make a doctor's appointment because it is Men's Health Month. See, just wrap it all up together, right? And last but certainly not least, and the focus of this episode, Juneteenth is June 19th. Yay! So in 2021, we got Juneteenth as like a holiday, like the day off, like the buildings are closed, don't go to work, like, right? And that was a huge deal. And I know some people had, a feeling about that. They felt a way about it because they were like, everybody just gonna go home and sit down, and that's not what Juneteenth is about. But people do what they do, right? And I think it's up to the people that it matters to the most to make sure to keep these types of holidays at the forefront and in the front of people's hearts and minds. And so, just so you know, Juneteenth is sort of a observance or a recognition of the fact that there were people when slavery was emancipated in 1863, that there were certain people that didn't hear or get the word until 1865. Back then, there wasn't no TikTok or Instagram or Facebook to let people know, right? It literally people on horses or, had to kind of get over to let the people know what was going on. So it took a couple of years for everyone to know. And so in Texas, Galveston, Texas was sort of the last place where like, hey, just in case you didn't know, y'all free. And it was like, oh, snap, right? And so that became a time to celebrate, to remember, to observe sort of what had happened to us in this country as enslaved American descendants of slaves, and sort of, honor our ancestors, and also to celebrate. This is a time for, yes, we have come so far. Now we got a long way to go, but we have come so far in so many ways. So in some spaces, I can understand where maybe someone would say, man, you just gave people another day off. They're just going to sit at home. But I also think that if we are very honest about Black history being also American history, then Juneteenth is just as important as the 4th of July in this country. Because honestly, at the 4th of July, we were still in the field. We wasn't free. So I think there is really some importance in that. And so as we move after break, I'm going to talk about reparations and how the connection between reparations and Juneteenth sort of mesh. And I want to share with you sort of my take on the social justice aspect of reparations. All right, so we're going to go to break and see you in a bit.
Are you ready for enlightening conversations that transcend boundaries? Get ready for Conversations with Clergy, brought to you by the HIV Vaccine Trials Network. In partnership with the world's largest publicly funded international collaboration, the HVTN is dedicated to evaluating vaccines to prevent HIV and COVID-19. But their impact doesn't stop there. The HVTN is at the forefront of advancing vaccinology, social and behavioral sciences, statistics, immunology, and even contributing to the research on tuberculosis and COVID-19 vaccines. By supporting Conversations with Clergy, the HVTN not only brings you thought-provoking discussions, but also contributes to the global effort to combat infectious diseases. Tune in, stay informed, and be a part of the change. Conversations with Clergy, supported by the HVTN, empowering conversations, empowering lives. Join us in this journey of knowledge, understanding, and progress. Conversations with Clergy, proudly brought to you by the HIV Vaccine Trials Network, because together we can make a difference.
Elevate your entertainment with Watch Vim. Discover the ultimate online streaming destination. Get an auto-renewing monthly subscription for unlimited content on all devices. Join us in supporting a Black-owned streaming platform that brings top-tier entertainment. Let the streaming excitement begin at Watch Vim, your seamless experience for endless entertainment. Stream online or download the Watch Vim app now.
Did you know that you can now catch the electrifying sounds of Bulletin Flight Radio anywhere you go? Yes, you heard it right. Tune in to the high-flying beats and soaring melodies by downloading the TuneIn app on your mobile device. Just search for Bulletin Flight Radio and hit play. It's that easy. And if you have a smart device like Alexa or Google, just say, "Hey Google," or "Alexa, play Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn." Experience the rush of adrenaline wherever you are. Listen to Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn using your Alexa or Google devices. Soaring through the skies has never sounded this good. Don't miss out on the ultimate musical journey. Tune in now to Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn and let the music take you on an unforgettable ride. Get ready to elevate your listening experience. Brought to you by Bulletin Flight Radio.
are back. And so I want to really dive deep into the conversation around reparations. I felt like the reparations conversation is really important to have in light of this being the month where Juneteenth happens, right? So let's go back, right? And I'm saying let's go back like I was there, but y'all know, you know what I'm trying to say. So Juneteenth, 1865, right? We free. Okay. All right, y'all go ahead, y'all free. We ain't got no nothing, no nothing. They just turn you loose. Like, okay, you free. Do we get a guidebook? Do we get a something, a couple of dollars or something? And so I know a lot of folks went into sharecropping, right? So it was also sort of another way to kind of keep you sort of not free, because you were beholden to the person who you were sharecropping, working. You had a piece of land and you were working and stuff, but maybe the cost of the plot was so expensive you really couldn't, get out of debt. So there was that. There was Jim Crow and sort of all these laws and things to kind of keep us still sort of in some sense contained, right? We were shut out of a lot of things. That couldn't necessarily walk into a building and, hey, I want to work here, or we couldn't go to the schools that everybody else was going to. So in essence, we still were very much kept separate from being able to participate in society, right? Okay. And so what reparations really is about is a way to sort of address or try to address the health, economic, and social and other inequities that were caused by being enslaved, and some of the things that were happening and the things that happened afterwards, Jim Crow, etc. Right. So I'm going to read to you the definition of reparations that I found, and this is a general definition of reparations. Reparations are measures to redress violations of human rights. Okay. So being enslaved is a human rights violation. Okay. Measures to redress violations of human rights by providing a range of material and symbolic benefits to victims and their families, as well as affected communities. So I did some research, and according to the Brookings Institution, addressing inequities in opportunity and resources for American descendants of slaves or the enslaved requires the government to restore deferred wealth through reparations in the form of wealth building opportunities that address racial disparities in education, housing, and business ownership. And so the first attempt at reparations was this whole idea of 40 acres and a mule. And so I went down the rabbit hole on 40 acres and a mule. We've heard that term before. I think Spike Lee's company is called 40 acres and a mule. My grandfather's real estate business was called 40 acres. So we all had got the 40 acres and a mule message. But I can honestly say I am not 100% sure that I knew where that came from. I just knew it was in relation to, well, when the enslaved folks were freed, that there was some conversation about compensation or reparations, and it had to do with 40 acres of land and a mule. So I pulled up an article that Henry Louis Gates wrote about where this whole idea came from. And it was the first, as I just said, systemic attempt to provide a form of reparations to newly freed enslaved people. And it was actually quite radical. And the idea was that, hey, we're going to take this land after the Civil War, from this Confederate landowners, and we're going to carve it up and give it to folks, right? And it seemed like it would have been a good thing or a good idea. There were about 3.9 million former slaves that were alive at that time. And they were literally going to carve up land, I think, between the Carolinas and Florida or some way, and give folks their land. And later on, the mule came in. And there were the people that put this together or thought about it were members of clergy, some for former pastors in the South. And I forgot how many. Let me see. I'm about to scroll down and tell you. 20. There were 20 thoughtful leaders who exhibited this foresight. They were all ministers, mostly Baptists and Methodists. Some of them were formerly enslaved, and some of them were free. Okay. And they were working with folks trying to figure out how they would do it. I think they even had a plan again, as far as where the land would be. The idea was we would stay segregated. And I know there are a lot of people, even at the time and even now, that feel like we probably should have stayed separate because it's hard to integrate and they don't really want us to integrate because they keep doing stuff to keep us from integrating. So maybe we just kind of do our own thing. And what comes to mind when I think about that is like Black Wall Street, when we did kind of have a space to do our own thing. And what happened to Black Wall Street in Oklahoma? It got burned down, right? So I feel like even back then, there was this thought like, well, maybe we just have our own thing. But what happened was, unfortunately, when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated and then they had Andrew Johnson, like this whole idea of 40 acres kind of just didn't happen, and they gave the land back to the Confederate, the Confederate landowners, like they got their land back. So in the whole scheme of things, enslaved people ended up with nothing, but the people that had to give up their enslaved, their servants or their, slaves, actually got their land back. So they were able to recoup some of their loss. But I guess not me technically, but my ancestors weren't able to recoup any of that. And so again, Jim Crow happens. We're still shut out of things. And I'm going to bring in this conversation about how this is really sort of very much aligned to me with public health is this. I've talked to y'all before, maybe it's probably been a while, about the social determinants of health. Things like access to health care, access to quality education, affordable and safe housing, right? And the idea of being able to take care of your family, economic development, being able to acquire wealth and take care of your family's needs. So if you are formerly enslaved, you are not compensated for your efforts and your work. They let you go. You're free now. They decide you can be free now. You get your autonomy to some degree, but you are not given any opportunity, any way to sort of make a place for yourself. Where are you having that opportunity to access any of these resources to live your best healthy life? So we know that education is a social determinant of health. The more education you have, the longer you live. We know that having access to housing actually impacts your health. There are studies that show that children that grow up in a home that is owned by their parents actually are healthier than children who live in apartment buildings, which is really like insane to even think about. That owning a home, I don't know, things might be different now. Our economy is different, but for the most part, owning a home allows for generational wealth. So when I die, the idea is that this house will be paid for. Then it goes to my daughter, who can then move in with no mortgage. She can maybe pull equity out of the house and open a business, send her children to college, and then the cycle continues. But when you shut people out of access to those things, you're almost, guaranteeing them a lower standard of life intentionally. Okay. So that's to me where this whole idea of reparations is saying we are going to try to repair what we have taken from you in the realm of housing, education, maybe business or home ownership or something like that. And so I think when people think of reparations, they're like, oh, that's not fair. You're just going to give people a check. But it could be something else. It doesn't have to be a literal, cash. It could be we don't pay property taxes for X number of years, or we don't pay income tax for X number of years, or we have some sort of enhanced access to home ownership or business ownership to try to correct for all of the, you got free labor for hundreds of years. Cities were built, the White House, right? So it's like, wait, that's not right. We need to figure that out. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of a understanding of, from my perspective, when I think about social justice, public health, and the social determinants of health, how reparations fits into that conversation and that equation. Because even now in 2024, I was like, what year are we in? 2024. We are still being harmed in some of these things. And I'm going to give you some examples. I know y'all saw on the news or on social media this Black administrator of a school minding his business. He's at the graduation, standing on stage with everybody else, welcoming the graduates across the stage. And what happens when this one particular young woman walks up, dad gets up on the stage and assaults that Black education administrator. Right? Or the fact that some schools still in the United States are so under-resourced in low-income neighborhoods that the children, no, I mean, I wouldn't want to go to that school and graduate, because it's not even, you don't even have teachers there that are qualified. You don't have resources there. So we're still being harmed. Let's talk about housing. There was a Black woman, she actually has a doctorate degree, and it actually doesn't matter that she does. She could have been a regular, whoever, but she bought a condo, and when the seller, who was an older woman, realized that she was Black, she called her realtor and said, "Yeah, I don't want to sell my property to that Black woman," and literally said it. Like, a lot of times we don't even get that level of overtness. She was like, "Yeah, I don't want to sell it to the Black lady," and so there was this, the buyer's agent is like, "Wait a minute." So there's this whole like, wait, because realtors don't want to lose a deal. Like, wait a minute now. And so there was this whole conversation. But think about the harm to that Black person that had to hear that. Like, what? I can afford this property. I what? This is 2024. But those kinds of things are still happening. Black people's houses get appraised for lower. But then when somebody comes in and maybe takes all the Black art off the walls and, sends their friend Chad in there, suddenly the house gets appraised for more. Or, maybe my interest rate on my loan is worse for my mortgage than someone else's. These things are still happening. And I think that's why this whole conversation around reparations is important, because it's not like, well, that happened in the past and it's not like that anymore. We're still seeing the impacts of those things today. Okay. So definitely check out that article. It was on In the Root around 40 Acres and a Mule, and how that whole conversation was started and then how it kind of just died out and where we are today. I will say, though, that since 2021, there have been some laws at the federal level that have been trying to really bring forward this conversation around reparations. And I believe a couple of them are kind of stuck. Right. And so Sheila Jackson Lee from Texas, and Sheila Jackson Lee and Representative Cori Bush have proposed a couple of different sort of laws or amendments or things at the federal level to try to get this conversation started around reparations. Here in California, we have a reparations task force, and what they're trying to look at is, okay, so we know that there has been harm. Even in California, right? Because California at the time, a free state, yes, but there was still harm. There was still racial, what is it called? Those covenants, restrictive covenants, where if you were Black, you couldn't live in this neighborhood. There were deeds to homes that said you can't sell this house to a Black person or a Mexican person. And so we, acknowledging, yes, there was harm, but how can we in California, how can the California state government address those harms in a meaningful way? So this task force is trying to figure that out right now. There's also our legislators in California that put together a package of bills that are in response to some of the things that have happened or have been discussed by that reparations task force at the state level. So it's really important to also understand, even from a public health perspective, policy is what really is the driver of the thing. Right? You can want something to happen, but unless it's a policy and there's money behind it, oftentimes these things don't happen, right? They just kind of sit. So this is, to me, really tangible work towards a viable solution for the reparations conversation. Here locally, there's a State of Black Los Angeles, sort of a database where we can look at some data, how Black folk in LA County, we have contributed so much to the landscape of LA County, but hey, there's some disparities in health outcomes. There's some disparities in employment. You can look at that data and can kind of get a better understanding of what's happening. And even the city of Los Angeles has a reparations task force. Interestingly enough, there was a research study I can't remember who did it. It was one of the Cal State universities was doing some research on, hey, have you been harmed in regards to this reparations conversation? Have you or your family been harmed? And I participated and interviewed and was telling them, I personally can't really say I have been harmed. I said, but my grandfather was a firefighter and integrated a fire station and he was hazed. That's harm. That's harm. He should be able to go to work and do his job and not be hazed and treated and discriminated against. I didn't know specific details, but I knew enough to tell them that was a very specific harm. Or the idea of restrictive covenants. My family came here almost 100 years ago, lived in South Central Los Angeles, but they couldn't move and live even where I am now at the time because of those covenants. They couldn't live west of a certain intersection. So those things are harmful. And when you hurt someone, if you get in a car accident, you hurt someone, you gotta make somebody whole, right? You have to make them whole. So I'm really interested to see what this conversation will lead to, what kinds of policies will come out of it, and how they will address the reparations conversation. So I'm really, really interested in that. All right, I've said enough about reparations. I'm going to bring folks on later this month to talk more about it. But I want to also remind you, yes, there are Juneteenth celebrations happening all over the country. Here in Los Angeles, there's one in Carson. I forgot the date, but it's going to happen. I think it's after Juneteenth. Leimert Park here in Los Angeles. I know they last year had a big thing. There was really, really big. And I know this year they aren't able to pull that off. I think the level of security needed, they just weren't able to really pull it off. But there will still be things happening in Leimert Park. Go over there. Actually, I got my tattoos in Leimert Park. There's a wonderful ice cream parlor. Baby got the best almond ice cream. It was vegan too. I was like, oh, this ice cream is good. So there's a lot happening there. And you could still go there and have a good time, right? So I don't really have much else to talk about. I've said a lot. Hopefully I've taught you some new things. I always am learning new things. But remember, you can find me on social media. I am on LinkedIn. I am on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. What else am I on? I'm mostly on LinkedIn these days. So just find me there on social media. My website, www.NicoleDVick.com, where you can buy my books. Oh, let me show you my book because they're sitting right here. This is mine. I wrote this one back in 2020? And then this one is the latest one. This is an anthology that I'm part of. I have a chapter in here around the Black public health workforce. And, because y'all be forgetting about us, child. Y'all be focused on corporate and the microaggressions and stuff in there. But baby, the government people is struggling too. We go through it too. And yeah, so there's my website. You can purchase the books there. There's other things there. I have a whole playlist of podcasts that I've been on. What else? I think that's it, y'all. It's just so much. Social media. I'm on LinkedIn more than anything. I think I have abandoned TikTok, y'all. I don't know. I just feel weird because I haven't been on it. Like, what am I supposed to do to get back? I guess I just post and say hi. I don't know. Maybe I'll get back on TikTok. But for now, I'm mostly on LinkedIn. Instagram, I just put my nail looks on Instagram. I don't even know what to do no more with Instagram. But it is what it is. Anyway, next week I have a special guest on, and we'll be talking further about the reparations conversation. If you have any questions about it and want to talk more, or just hit me up. All right. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.